Alright, so Genshin Impact 6.0 is just around the corner, and this patch is really shaping up to be one of those updates where everything changes. In this video, I want to go over absolutely everything we know so far, from the new characters and the banner structure, to the artifact sets, anniversary rewards, the new Nodcry region, and even some deeper changes to gameplay systems like the Imaginarium Theater and animation quality. I'll also throw in some of my own thoughts and a bit of historical context, because we've seen patterns with these big X1.0 patches before, and it really helps put everything into perspective. Out of Primogems? Don't worry, I've got a way to save money and get double the Genesis crystals. This is Lootbar.gg. It works just like the in-game top-up system, but with up to 25% off, and new users even get a 10% extra discount using the link in the pinned comment. See this? The regular $100 pack only costs $85 on Lootbar, and each update they release an exclusive $77 bundle available for your first purchase every version. All you need is your UID, no password, no login. Just pick your bundle, select your server, enter your UID, and your crystals get delivered in seconds. Lootbar has awesome reviews. It's fast, secure, and trusted by tons of players. If you're planning to recharge for Genshin Impact, Star Rail, or Wuthering Waves, don't waste your money. Click the link in the description or pinned comment and top up now with Lootbar. Safe, fast, and way more affordable. First up, the release date. Version 6.0 is expected to arrive on September 10th, 2025, which is right on schedule with Genshin's usual 6-week update cycle. For those of us in North America, that means maintenance will probably kick off on the evening of September 9th, and it should wrap up by the morning of September 10th for players in Europe and Asia. But before we get to actually play it, we have the special program to look forward to on August 29th. That's where Hoyoverse will lay out all the confirmed banners, the rewards, and give us our first official tour of Nodcry. But let's get to the headliners, the new characters. We are finally getting Flins, who is an Electro-Polearm 5-star. His entire kit seems to be built around this new mechanic called Lunar Charged, and his role is very clearly a main DPS. The leaks show that he can transform his skill into a special mode where all his attacks become electro-infused, and he can unleash some absolutely devastating strikes. His burst also has two different forms, one being a wide area of effect electro hit with multiple lunar-charged strikes, and another version that condenses all of that power into a single, much stronger lunar-charged attack. What's really interesting is how his talents tie into this whole lunar system. For example, one of his passives apparently increases his lunar charge damage by 20% if the team is in a certain moon phase, and another one converts part of his attack stat into elemental mastery, up to a cap. That's a really clever way of weaving new scaling mechanics into his build, and it immediately makes me think he's going to be a character that demands pretty specific team comps to really get the most out of him. Even his constellations push that idea further. At Constellation 2, he gets a big AoE Electro Strike that also reduces enemy Electro resistance by 25%, which could be a total game changer for mono Electro teams. And then we have Lauma, the other new 5-star, and she couldn't be more different. She's a Dendro Catalyst who's being set up as a sub-DPS and support, leaning heavily into the Bloom reaction, but with a unique twist. Her kit modifies Bloom into something called Lunar Bloom, which ties her perfectly into Nodcry's new elemental theme. Her skill can be tapped for a straightforward Dendro attack, or you can hold it to consume these Dewdrops for a stronger AoE that also reduces both Hydro and Dendro resistance on enemies. That resistance shred is huge. It basically just amplifies your team's damage by lowering defenses on two key elements. Her burst goes even deeper, consuming stacks called Moon Chants to unleash powerful AoE Lunar Bloom hits, and all of it scales with elemental mastery. This makes her the kind of character who's going to thrive in reaction-heavy teams, especially ones built around Bloom or Hyper Bloom. Her passives just reinforce that with things like turning elemental mastery into higher Lunar Bloom damage, or granting extra crit rate and crit damage when reactions are triggered. The wildest part is probably her Constellation 2, which just explodes her scaling. Bloom and Hyper Bloom apparently get boosted by 500% of her elemental mastery, while Lunar Bloom gets 250%. That's just insane scaling on paper. And while it probably won't translate literally to those numbers in actual gameplay, it shows exactly where Hoyoverse wants her to stand as the ultimate enabler for Bloom teams. To round out the new cast, we're also meeting Aino, a new 4-star Hydro Claymore character. This one's a bit of a novelty, since she's the first Hydro Claymore we've ever had in the game. From what we've seen in leaks, her role seems to be supportive, acting mainly as a hydro applier. That's obviously pretty valuable for early Nodcry teams, since reactions like Bloom and Vaporize will need a strong hydro presence. But realistically, once a character like Columbina eventually becomes playable, Aino might get outclassed. Still, as a free or lower investment option, she's probably going to be very handy in the short term. New characters always mean new banners, and 6.0 looks absolutely loaded. Phase 1 is expected to feature Flins running alongside Yelan, which is already a really strong pairing since Yelan's Hydro application perfectly supports Flins' Electro DPS playstyle. Phase 2 will bring Lauma alongside Nahida, and that is huge because Nahida hasn't had a rerun in 9 patches. If you're missing her, this could be your best shot. But the real surprise here is the Sumeru Chronicled Wish, which seems to be showing up earlier than anyone expected. Most people thought it would drop in 6.1, but the leaks are now pointing to 6.0 instead. And it makes sense when you look at the timing. Hoyoverse already tested this model back in 5.6 with Raiden's solo rerun, 2 new units, and an Inazuma Chronicled Wish pool all running at the same time. It worked then, so it makes sense to repeat it for the anniversary patch. And the Sumeru pool is stacked. Sino hasn't been rerun in 15 patches, Al-Haytham has been gone for 10, and Nilou isn't far behind. Even Wanderer qualifies because his whole story arc played out in Sumeru. Dehaya and Tignari are also linked to the region, and both were added to the standard pool. It's basically Hoyoverse clearing out a huge backlog while giving players more options than ever. The only catch is that Chronicled Wish Pity doesn't carry over, and with so many 5 stars in one pool, your odds of landing a specific character like Sino are much lower. So in 6.0, you're not just choosing between Flins or Lauma, you're weighing them against top-tier reruns like Nahida and Yelan, plus a massive rerun pool full of long-absent fan favorites. It's easily one of the most tempting lineups we have ever seen, and honestly, it's going to test everyone's Primogem discipline. With all these options on the table, I'm really curious, who are you planning to pull for? Let me know down in the comments which character has your attention, or if you're going to try your luck on that packed Sumeru banner. Speaking of synergy, the new artifact sets are clearly built for these new lunar mechanics. The first set is support-oriented. The 2-piece gives you 20% energy recharge, and the 4-piece bonus grants either 60 or 120 elemental mastery, depending on how many Nodcry units you have on your team. On top of that, if multiple characters are using these sets, the whole team gets a 10% bonus to lunar reaction damage. That's a really neat way of pushing team synergy instead of just focusing on individual stats. The second set is aimed more at a DPS, with the 2-piece giving 80 elemental mastery, and the 4-piece granting either 15 or 30% crit rate, depending on that same moon sign state mechanic. It also shares that lunar reaction damage boost, so there's a clear incentive to stack these sets across your team. This feels very reminiscent of how we saw artifacts like Deepwood Memories and Gilded Dreams completely reshape the Dendro meta back in 3.0, so I expect these are going to be must-haves for any Nodcry teams. Weapons are also getting some love. There are 5 new craftable ones, all with a more industrial mechanical design, which fits Nodcry's whole aesthetic perfectly. The important part is that they aren't just for show. These weapons are reported to be genuinely good free-to-play options for Flins, Lauma, and probably future characters from this region too. That's honestly refreshing, because a lot of the time, craftable weapons end up feeling like filler compared to the gacha 5 stars. Now, let's talk rewards, because it wouldn't be an X.0 patch without some anniversary hype. We're looking at a free 5-star selector and at least 20 free wishes, with the livestream expected to reveal even more. For context, the 5.0 anniversary gave us around 130 wishes in total, which was by far the most generous patch we'd had since the game's original launch rewards. I don't think 6.0 will quite match that number, but even a fraction of it is still a massive boost for free-to-play players. And historically, these milestone versions always come with big quality-of-life updates too. Remember how 4.0 brought those sweeping changes to exploration systems? It's very likely we'll see something similar here. Of course, the biggest highlight has to be the new Krai Map. This region has been teased for a while, and now we're finally getting to step into it. The locations sound really diverse. We have Paja Isle, which has a massive Fatui machine, Blue Amber Lake, Nasha Town, Limpo Isle, which is apparently tied to Aino's craft shop, and Hay Island, where the locals worship the moon and where Lauma's story will likely unfold. Just like with past regions, there will be a new collectible, in this case the Lunar Oculus, which will be used to level up the moon goddess statue, also referred to in leaks as the Columbina statue. Moon sigils will act as the new currency. The story content also looks pretty ambitious. We're getting 2 new Archon quest acts, but what's different this time is that the Archon quest and the character story quests are being merged into a single narrative flow. HoYoverse seems to be experimenting with their presentation, possibly to make the storytelling more streamlined and immersive. If you think back, they tried something similar in Fontaine with the heavy integration of local characters into the Archon quest, so this might just be the next step in that evolution. And if you're into endgame content, the Imaginarium Theater is being expanded with new difficulty modes, extra rewards, and more stages. What really stands out is this new collectible card system. You'll be able to collect cards that are stored in an item called the Lunar Arcana case, and you can even trade them in co-op. The more you have, the better benefits you unlock. It almost feels like a mix between a challenge mode and a mini collectible system, which is a fun way to extend replayability. One thing that might fly under the radar but is actually huge is the increase in animation quality. Apparently, HoYoverse is rolling out much smoother combat and cutscene animations, even experimenting with integrating 2-dimensional animation. This would explain why they've also announced higher device requirements. If you're on an older phone or PC, this patch might really start to push your hardware. But honestly, better animations have been a long time coming, and if 6.0 delivers on that front, it could make the game feel like a true next-gen experience. And of course, we'll get all the official confirmations soon enough. The livestream is scheduled for August 29th, and that's when we'll see the finalized details, any extra rewards, and probably even some sneak peeks of future characters. So that's the full rundown of everything we know about 6.0 right now. From new characters like Flins and Lauma to the new artifact sets, the Nodcry map, anniversary rewards, and the overall gameplay improvements, it is looking like one of the most ambitious patches Genshin has had in years. But what do you guys think? Are you planning on pulling for Flins, or does Lauma look like the better pick for your teams? And how do you feel about the new artifact system being tied to moon phases? Do you like the team synergy angle, or does it sound a little too restrictive? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm really curious to see how the community is leaning on this one. If you want more deep dives like this covering leaks, confirmed news, and the historical patterns that explain HoYoverse's decisions, don't forget to subscribe. We've got the live stream coming up on August 29th, so I'll be back to break all of that down as soon as it happens.